afternoon, everyone. This is me, Indrani, and I'll be with you during the show. Welcome to your favorite show, Immigration Law. Today we have a special guest with us. Today we have Ms. Arnela Tolic with us from Australia. Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm not too bad. Yourself?
Thank you. Before the discussion, I'd like to ask something about you. I mean, what's your profession? And we already know that you are not directly from Australia. You have a different ethnicity. So can you tell us about you in some words?
Absolutely. And thank you for the opportunity. I'm an immigration lawyer and have been for the last 16 years. And I have migrated to Australia about 21 years ago as a 15-year-old child with no English and very little understanding of where I was going, and made this place to be my home. So I've come from a place which is in the heart of Europe, Bosnia, and if I can make it to Australia and obviously use that as an opportunity to make it home, I think really anyone can. So a little bit about me. Besides that, I do enjoy different flavors of food, if that helps you. So I do like to enjoy really in different flavors from anywhere around the world.
So why you chose Australia?
Look, I was still a very young child at that point, and my parents chose Australia as a country with opportunities, for opportunities for young children and for themselves, and a place where you could have a safe future. I mean, I came from a place where you had bombs flying over your head, wars that were ongoing, and the choices were either you go to Australia or to another country, and this seemed to be the right destination.
So, what are the current immigration laws and regulation in Australia, and how have they evolved in recent years? I mean, recent 10 or 12 years?
Look, to start, I guess, with migration law, looking at the last 10, 12 years looks like a very long period of time. In particular, just this year, 2023, there has been a lot of changes and more positive changes, inviting a lot more skilled migrants, a lot more students, a lot more families to be reunited. The laws have changed with, I guess, the need for skilled people, the need for people to wanting to invest money and time in Australia. And while some people may find it difficult, others may find it a lot easier. And it's all about getting the right legal advice at the end of the day to make sure that you choose the right pathway. So to put it in simple for you, a lot of changes, ongoing changes, and that's to make sure that Australia meets the needs of the people that they need. And really, we have over 190 nationalities living in Australia. So that tells you a bit more about that.
So can you explain the different visa categories available for migrants in Australia and the eligibility criteria for these categories?
Absolutely. Look, the most sought after visas at the moment are skilled visas, and they are visas for people who have a profession. So you have people who are trade professionals, such as your mechanics, such as your hairdressers, such as your welders and fitters, as an example. And we need people in those professions. And then you have your professionals. You could have your nurses, your doctors, your orthodontists, your psychiatrists. The list is big. We have a list over 400 different occupations in Australia of skilled people that we need. Some of the key criteria, to give you a bit of a giveaway for this, is that persons do need to be under the age of 45. There has to be a very good comprehension of the English skills, and they need to be at least in the workforce for at least 4 to 5 years to have a good opportunity to utilize this skilled visa option. Now, we have visas where people want to live in Sydney, visas where people like to live in Queensland, a bit warmer, or people where they like to live in South Australia. So we have 6 states and people get a choice. What the biggest difficulty is to make sure that you understand what's required of you. And English is really the biggest component, along with the experience and the qualification. To say this to you, now is a great opportunity for many good skilled people to look at that as an option and that as an opportunity, as long as they are, like I said, under the age of 45, have the qualification and that experience. That is an amazing pathway for them to use.
Exactly. Can you explain us the visa categories for skilled people? We heard that there is no chance an unemployed, unskilled people can get into Australia. Then which type of skills you need? You just said that some doctors, nurse, hairdressers, there are so many occupations. But in specific, can you explain us that which categories or which most demanded skills you're looking for?
Oh, absolutely. The most demanded skill we're looking for is nurses, registered nurses. Registered nurses who are working with children, registered nurses who are working with older people, let's say in the nursing homes, registered nurses that work in hospitals, any type of nurse. We need nurses in big numbers. You get good money given, relocation packages from employers. So nurses is the biggest one, I must say to you, followed by teachers. We need teachers for high school teachers, primary school teachers, engineers is also on that big category of list. And then the most important one, and this is for your audience, there is a visa where you can get from the government close to up to $20,000 to relocate to Australia after you get the visa, and that is the people in the construction. So you have your bricklayer, you have people that are working in constructions by way of any other means. So there is a bigger list there. People that are plumbers, unblocking the pipes. You have people that are working in the, cementing outside. You have people that are actually builders, building houses. So there is close to perhaps maybe the most important occupation, about 60 of them that are the most vital ones that you could have your audience, I think, consider this as the most important way.
Let's come to the point on some business categories. There are so many persons that want to make more money by investing there. So is there any kind of opportunity for a business person from my country?
At the moment, all of the investor visas have been put on hold. And this is because of a decision that the government made just for now. So we don't have opportunity for people to invest in Australia at the moment. What do we need the most important? And they put all of the numbers instead of investor visas or investors to nurses and to doctors and to, like I said to you before, to individuals that are engineers, to hospitality, to the trade, because that is what drives the economy. People investing money, yes. It does drive the economy, but we need people to work. I give you one example. At the moment, if you want to come and work in Australia as a nurse, most businesses will offer a lot of money, free housing, free basically relocation of flights and many other benefits because there is a big need for that. Nurses are making more money than lawyers at the moment, believe it or not. Nurses is pretty much needed. So are obviously our teachers as well. So there is the shift about what we need more than anything. And if you ask why is that, it's because the COVID-19 pandemic. When we had a pandemic between obviously the period of 22 even, if you call it that way, many people left Australia. We had 600,000 people leave because they couldn't survive. We had businesses that were shut down for many, for extended periods of time. And now we're trying to get everybody back. So investors, you can, not for the moment.
So they still have to wait for that opportunity if anyone want to go there through student visa. After that, after completing their graduation or post-graduation, they want to live there for good. Then which criteria is needed in him or her?
Oh, that's a very good question. And I like that you asked this because we see a lot of amazing people who are already educated coming to study. So an example, somebody hires a bachelor from home and they come to do a master's degree. And what happens when they finish that master's degree, they get an opportunity by the Australian government to stay for an additional 2 years to get experience. And then after that, to apply for permanent residency.
Wow.
What's important is the planning. So don't go and study any course because that is not what is the right thing to do. Study the things that are important and in demand and what you like, essentially. But basically, anybody who finishes a bachelor degree in Australia gets another additional 2 to 4 years to stay here and enjoy, obviously, getting more experience and getting permanent residency.
We just heard about students. We heard that in French, when a student complete their study courses, graduation, post-graduation, maybe from Bangladesh, they got 1 year, 1 year long time so that they can find jobs, they can apply for PR or something. In different countries, it's a different rule. Then what about in Australia? Is there any chances that they got 1 or 2 years for searching job, just for searching job?
Well, unfortunately, we don't have options like this. But what we do have is a lot better, because if somebody comes and studies a bachelor degree, for example, and they finish that, they automatically can apply as long as they finish their course and they get between 2 to 4 years to look for work. So that's what we call a graduate visa. So they can go in that time to look for work. That's also available for people who want to, let's say, study a diploma. So somebody who comes and studies a diploma of nursing, for example, which is very popular, they can also apply, but they will only get between 1 to 2 years in searching for that job. So it's more about finding the right course than obviously, anything. So jobs, there's plenty of jobs. It's more about picking the right education. And maybe if I can say this, do not only pick a course that is cheap, because cheap courses don't mean you can get a good opportunity. So people enroll in management, business administration. They spend $10,000, $15,000. When the course finished, they start all over again and study something else.
Okay, let's change the topic into the visit visa. Some people always love to travel. They want to go to and fro, but sometimes people want to visit to Australia, and somehow they like that place. They love to stay there for a long. If anyone go with a visit visa, but he or she may be overstayed, then what's the situation will make?
Look, absolutely. Visitor visas is there to come and visit and enjoy Australia and visit your family, maybe visit your friends, have an opportunity to go, and visit some of the sightseeing, for example. You can apply for other visas if you come on a visit visa, as long as the government doesn't put a condition on your visa. There is an important condition that we call condition 8503. It's a magical number, 4 numbers. And it basically means if you have a condition of that, so no further stay, you can't stay longer. People who stay, nevertheless, what happens with them is there is going to be quite a number of different things you need to remember by way of punishment. 1, they get put in a detention center if somebody tells the government about this. And 2, they have very limited options to apply for another visa. So it's not about penalty by money that they pay, penalty by way of the future. They don't have much options, and that really creates a big disaster for everyone. I will give you an example. I have met a gentleman who's been in Australia 15 years illegal, opened a business, had people working for him, Australian people working for him, and it took us 5 years to get his permanent residency. Now, in the 5 years, he spent close to $60,000 because he did so many wrong things on the way. So don't overstay. It is not worth it, because it will catch up, if not in 1 month, 2 months, maybe in a year. And if you become sick and go to the hospital, the first thing the hospital will ask, or the doctor will ask, is to see your identification. And that be a big problem. So best to plan it according, obviously, to your options.
Additionally, I can ask something that what are some common challenges or hurdles that migrants often encounter during that immigration process?
Look, that's a very good question you have there. There's a lot of challenges. One of the biggest challenges, they don't get given good advice, good legal advice.
The first
good legal advice means good options. Basically, if somebody tells me I want to visit Australia and I want to work, we need to look at the bigger picture. What is it that they want? They want to make Australia a home. They want to just go for short periods. And not getting the right advice means you spend a lot of money. You stay in Australia 10 to 15 years, from one student visa to another student visa to another one, to another one. And that is because a lot of the colleges that work with agents, not migration agents, not lawyers, but education agents, all they're interested is in money. They don't care about that person's future. So that is the biggest challenge that I've seen. I have seen many amazing people from Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan, and I cannot believe how much time they have spent in this country and they haven't got their permanent residency. So make sure you get good advice if you really want to have this place as your home. I should say that, yeah.
Is there any opportunity to get something like green card? We heard that in USA, only one and only USA, they provide a green card. But is there any kind of facilities like green card in Australia?
Oh, absolutely. We don't call it a green card. We call it permanent residency.
Okay.
So in the US, you have a lottery, yeah? So the person goes into the draw, you have to wait for your name, and you get a green card. Here, it's permanent residency, and it's more about your skills. Do you have skills that the country needs? So like I told you before, trade professionals, you have electricians, welders, fitters, chefs, cooks, engineers, doctors, nurses. If we need that trade, then you can certainly look at applying, but English is the most important. Make sure that you practice your English. Make sure that you get the right English scores. But yes, we do have green cards. I give you an example. Like just the other day, I had a gentleman. He was from Southern America. He spoke to me because he found me on TikTok. I do have a TikTok account where I give free information. And he said to me, I've been here for 12 years. And it made me very sad that he spent so much time here. I didn't understand what he did and why he spent all this time here. But he went from student visa to another visa to employment visa and, you know, to permanent residency. It took him 12 years to speak to us for him to get his permanent residency. If I tell you, when I called him and when he cried on the phone, it is the best feeling for me as a lawyer to change somebody's life in a positive way. Why did it take him 12 years to get this? Again, it comes down to the advice that you get. I'm not saying I'm the best, but you need to care about people. You need to care about people and not money. Yes, you do your job, but people's lives, they do matter. And like I said, it's that challenge, but our green card is that permanent residency.
After getting PR, I mean a permanent residency, can people apply for passport as well?
Oh, absolutely. When you get permanent residency, you must hold that for 1 year at least by way of holding permanent residency. But you also have to show that you've been living in Australia for at least 4 years. And you can get Australian citizenship. We have a big celebration for that in Australia when people get citizenship. So absolutely, as long as the person didn't do any criminal activities while they're in Australia. So for example, if it's your fines and you're driving, it's okay. But it's more the other things. So if somebody got involved with the wrong crowd, that may cause obviously some issues.
How can an immigration solicitor assist migrants in navigating the complex immigration system and achieving their immigration goals?
Look, one of the first things that I always say to many people say, I want to talk to you, I want to pay to talk to you. I said, look, before you speak to me and pay me, I want to see your CV. I want to see your resume. I want to see your date of birth. I want to see your qualifications. I want to see your experience. And when you look at that, you can see very quickly if somebody has options and, you know, talk to the person about their visa options and pathways and challenges and what they need to do to obviously to meet that. You do have lawyers who will say, pay me and then I talk to you. I don't agree with that because maybe I can't help you. How's that? There's not everybody that you can obviously assist. So your resume, so your document that talks about your experience is the most important thing.
Are there any kind of recent changes or updates that migrants should be aware of when planning to immigrate to Australia?
Yes, there are many changes that happened in the last 2.5 months. So from the financial year, 1st of July, one of the biggest changes is for skilled migrants. So you need to have a lot of experience in order to qualify for skilled visas. And you need to also have very good English. So every state requires people to have very good English skills. But the biggest change, if you ask me, is for students. So from the 1st of October, any international student that is looking to apply to Australia must have money in their bank account, a minimum of $25,000 per year per study, which means you can't no longer rely on the banks giving you a loan, family helping you out. You must have money in your bank account, which I think doesn't help many people that want to come and study because let me be asking you, who has that money in the bank account? If you have it, you obviously would use it on other things. The other biggest challenge is that a lot of employers are wanting more skilled staff. And it's been made a lot easier for them to bring skilled staff, which means people that are from overseas will get paid a lot more. So here is an example. Before the 1st of July, as an international skilled migrant, the minimum that an employer had to pay is $53,900, and now it's $70,000 a year. So it's good news for migrants.
Yes. Can you provide some of examples of unique challenges regarding this?
Well, the biggest challenge of that would be obviously that individuals are planning. So planning your journey, planning your migration to Australia. It's not something you can do in 1 day, in 2 days, in 3 days. You want to make sure that you get advice and that you plan so that you have the finances available, that you think about your family, if your family is migrating with you. People who have children, think about education for your children, relocating and finding housing. Again, it should be a plan where you spend time with your lawyer, your migration agent, and talk to them about your options, when you want to start, how long you want for this to take, and where you want to live. Because the biggest challenge is clients will tell me, you pick where I live. It's interesting because I can't do that. Somebody likes the very warm weather. I say Queensland is beautiful. But then you also have to look for where can you find a job. It's not about just enjoying that company. But the best part that you will like is that we are a multicultural country. Everybody speaks different languages. You will find people from Bangladesh. You will find people from, like I said, other regions of the world, Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan, Europe, Middle East. And you will feel that connection with your community. You will never feel like you're missing home too much because there is that opportunity to help one another. So there is community that will help you at any time.
Did you had to help any Bangladeshi people regarding this?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
So how was the experience?
Look, for me, it was a great experience. And I give you this as an example. I went to eat in a place, and that was in a Pakistani restaurant. And somebody overheard me talking, and I said, I can't believe how people stay here for this long. They don't get visa. And this young man was sitting on the table, and he asked me, what do you do for work? And I couldn't help myself. So I started talking to him, and I said, this is what I do. And after that, I went to do some free seminars in his community. So for all of the international students, to give them some advice about options. I found that amazing experience. People are very humble, very joyful, very hardworking. And really, if they put their mind to achieving a goal, they do their absolute best to do that. My experience, I have to say, has been a pleasant one. A lot more pleasant than obviously dealing with a lot of people that are from English-speaking countries. And I'm being honest, because they don't see the challenges that migrants like from Bangladesh see. And that is, one being the language, the culture, and other aspects of that. And I've made some good friends. Some people that invite me to the weddings, some people invite me for the engagement, for lunches. It's good to obviously have that, that connection with clients even after you help them.
Thank you. Now we have a question from our audience.
Absolutely.
When transitioning to 191, does the occupation need to be the same when you're applied for the 491?
Well, you don't need to make any other applications. So when you are on the 491 visa, you get the visa for 5 years. You must live for 3 years in the location where you got the visa granted. So it could be, let's say, South Australia. It could be in any other state. Your occupation doesn't matter. You just have to make sure that you show the government that you've been working, making money, that you've been living in a postcode, which is not the city, outside of the city areas. Okay. And that's all. The occupation doesn't change in any way. What you do for work, you could be a nurse. You could be an engineer and work as a manager in a phone shop. It doesn't really matter.
But what are the key factors that can impact a migrant's chances for obtaining a visa, such as age, education, work experience, or family issues?
Look, one of the biggest factors perhaps is a lot of applicants may be the age. The more experience you have, a lot of applicants are a bit older, which means some visas that are permanent visas is not something that they can obtain. So it may be going to the 491 visa, which is a temporary visa. You wait for 3 years and then you get permanent residency. The other challenge is if somebody has a health condition and if that health condition requires them to have medication, that can stop someone from sometimes getting access to visas. And I guess the biggest challenge really is the English language and how proficient the English language is, and whether you can get a visa. An example is I pick it as a chef. If somebody can't get 7 in IELTS, they may not be able to get permanent visa, but they may be able to get a temporary visa. So quite a few aspects.
Now we have another question from our audience. I have been working as a restaurant cook in Bangladesh for over a year. I have experience in cooking. So can I go to Australia as a cooking job?
Well, if you are experienced as a cook, in order to come to Australia, you do need to have as a cook at least 3 years experience, full-time experience. That is, if you have qualification. If you don't have qualification, then you need 5 years experience. So for some occupations, if people don't have qualification, more experience is accepted, but 1 year itself would not be enough. However, you might be able to go through maybe such as, through employers who need people just for a short term, and that may be 3 to 6 months itself. Or you spend more time to obviously get more experience in Bangladesh, and then look at other visa options.
Thank you. And another question is from a barber. I'm skilled in salon work and salesman. Can I get a visa for this work?
As a barber, yes, it's very, very required. It comes down to your, I guess, experience, how many years experience you have, and how good is your English. So you need to have English skills. And there's so many jobs as a barber, like a lot of jobs as a barber, even sales managers, but it's in some of the very remote and smaller country towns in Australia, and you need an employer to bring you over.
So does he need to be certified that he's skilled in his profession, like hairdressing or salon works? If he doesn't have any kind of paperwork, any kind of certificate, he is only skilled through his hand. Is there will be any kind of obligation?
Oh, yes. I mean, like I said, if somebody doesn't have qualifications, so a paper or degree, they need to have at least 5 years experience, so 5 years full-time, meaning a minimum of 38 hours per week. And you can use that experience to still get a visa. So it's not always you have to have qualification.
How can migrants best prepare for their visa application or immigration interview to maximize their chance to succeed?
The best way to prepare is to know your visa options. Okay, know and understand the requirements of each of the visas. So speaking to a professional about that, they will tell you about the visa classes. They will tell you about the requirements for the age. They will tell you about the requirements of English, the requirements for work experience. And once you know the requirements, you can then prepare for that success. But I must also tell you, preparing for success means that if you tell me that you are a professional doctor or that you're a professional chef, you must give evidence. So you need to provide proof. And that proof has to be checked by the Australian government. So we have a big problem at the moment where people give documents. And if these documents can't be checked, they will never make it to Australia. So you need to be able to tell the truth and give the documents that can obviously be verified. Okay.
Another question from our audience. What are the chances of accountant offshore application sitting on 85 or 95 or 189 visa subclass? Please advise.
Oh, very good one. We need accountants, but there's a lot of accountants. Look, at the moment, it is very competitive because most of the states have just opened up in the last 2 to 3 weeks. We don't have South Australia, hasn't opened yet. We are still waiting on New South Wales to find out what's happening. Northern Territory has closed down. Victoria is focusing on healthcare and teaching. So you would need about 95 to 100 points, I would say, as a bare minimum. It's very, very competitive for accountants at the moment.
Another question as well. I have dependent visa, but due to the COVID-19 and border restriction, I couldn't move there. Now, can I process for skilled migration visa as an accountant?
Probably you can. It depends if you have a skill assessment. So for skilled visas, there is 3, major components. One is a skill assessment as an accountant, so positive assessment. And then obviously that you have the English skills and that you get an invitation from the government. So it depends on the points and I guess what they have on hand.
Let's talk about some family reunification. You know, family is most important thing in our life.
It is.
Exactly.
It is.
So,
It is.
are there any special consideration or challenges for family reunification cases, and how can an immigration solicitor help in such situations?
The biggest challenge is for parents, and parents coming to visit in Australia, parents to come to live with their children. We all know that we like to have our parents very close to us, to spend time with us, to spend time with our children. And a lot of the parent visas are taking a very long time at the moment. 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, a very, very long time. So maybe considering for parents visit visas that are for 5 and 10 years is the quicker solution than waiting for parent visas, which is taking too long. Imagine you pay for your parents' visa today and you are told you wait 15 years. That is a very long time. So know obviously how long things take. And like I said, there are visitor visas for parents that you can get 5 to 10 years.
Thank you so much. We have come to the end to this show. I want to ask a last question. That can you explain the appeals process for visa denials and the role of an immigration solicitor in such case?
When somebody has a visa refused, it's a very difficult time. It's a time where they are very worried, anxious, they can't sleep, they don't know how long they will stay in Australia. And having an immigration lawyer help, it gives you the peace of mind. They will guide you through what's required. They will represent you at the tribunal, and they will make sure that they fight for your best rights for that. So make sure you get good legal advice if you have a visa refused.
Thank you so much. We had to end this show, and you know, you're such a nice person, and it's very, very, very much nice time that we spent to you, and our discussion maybe can help the audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I much appreciate it. You have a lovely evening.
Yes, thank you. So everyone, that's all for today. See you in next episode. Till then, take care of yourself and stay updated. Once again, good evening.